Shalom, Yasharallah. This your brother Dawudah, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rakat Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and never will. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here article. Some news that's or some events that's been taking place over the last couple of days and things like that. Thought I'd just speak on it a little bit because this is nothing new to Esau's agenda around the globe. And some people would question and say about how some of the families of the nation of Israel, they have their own lands and things like that. But when you really go into it, a lot of these places are really they have puppet leaders, which pretty much are being ran by Esau. Like, let's say, for instance, Mexico, they would say, oh, Issachar got their own land. Puerto Rico, Ephraim got their own land. Or here, Cuba, Manasseh's got their own land. But ultimately, America's always trying to get a stronghold over top of these places and rule and run these places to take the resources and then continue to put that hell on Jake. All right. So here's an article going into the Cuban protest. All right. It says Cuban foreign minister claims U.S.-backed mercenaries stoked unrest ahead of protests disguised as cry for help. All right. Now, what you have to understand, this is a real sad story. This is like exactly the same story as what's going on in Venezuela. All right. So from the outside perspective, you would think, all right, that the governments of both of these places, all right, are just corrupt. They don't care about their people. They starve their people out. You have horrible dictators and things like that, or horrible leaders. All right. And they're just starving their people out and they have to be taken out of control. But this is that Babylonian juice that Esau pushes for what they call regime change. All right. This is how they wind up doing overthrowing regimes, or they would usually call it a coup d'etat. Right. But the newer term for it now is regime change. All right. But nevertheless, what they do is they go in there and destabilize the population, whether it be through it's all psyops, but through social media and just media itself. All right, putting out fake stories about different things like that. Whether it be at home or abroad. A home being and they're where they are located, and then abroad, like out here where we're saying, oh well, like they did with what your boy name was Bashar al-Assad. Oh, Assad is starving his people out, or Maduro is starving his people out. We've got to do something. So it brainwashes the population here to believing they're the bad guys. So when America goes in with their so-called humanitarian aid, all right, just like what they tried to do in Venezuela when they came through with humanitarian aid, it was basically mercenaries in there, right? Same thing, man, same play. It says Cuban Foreign Minister Bruno Rodriguez has denounced the weekend's protest as a systematic provocation by dissidents working hand in hand with the forces of the U.S. government to destabilize the nation. All right, this ain't no conspiracy or nothing like that. Even the governments, they know about all these things. The nations even know, man. All right. Earlier Monday, the Biden administration flatly declared the protest as unprecedented rejection of the island's nation's government, placing the blame for the unrest at the feet of the Cuban Communist government. All right, and so you have to also understand is going back in the olden days that Cuba was an ally of communist Russia. Right, this is where you have the Cuban Missile Crisis from and everything like that, because Russia has some missiles 90 miles off the coast of Florida, man, because Cuba ain't that far from Florida. All right, so you can imagine how America's trying to basically surrounding Russia with NATO bases and everything like that. How the hell, you can't see where Russia coming from when they saying, look, bro, y'all can't be having these war games on our borders, setting up your missile defense systems, putting your Patriot systems on our borders. But lo and behold, America got the right to do all that. But then lo and behold, when Russia put some missiles or missile defense systems right there in Cuba, all right, which is 90 miles off of America, they get all butthurt and then they throw sanctions on Cuba, which, if you understand about Cuba, man, these people are basically frozen in time, man. They like damn near in the 50s still. All right, they don't really have a lot of new stuff because the sanctions that they got and the embargoes that they got on Cuba, that you can't trade with this nation, man. All right, and if you do, then they're going to put sanctions on you, right? So, continuing on, it says, after the Biden government statement in support of the Cuban protesters, right, but it's not really the protesters, but they set up their own people over there and push this here narrative out, right? It says we ain't going to speak on that. It says, after the Biden government statement in support of Cuban protesters following the weekend street demonstration, Rodriguez swiftly challenged the U.S. president's claims. Yesterday in Cuba, there was no social uprising. Yesterday in Cuba, there was disturbance caused by a communicational operation that has been prepared for some time, in which millions had been dedicated the foreign minister countered. All right, so it's not like it's just a natural uprising. The people just literally sick of the government. They want change. No, this is something that's being pushed like that, man. Like what I was gonna say, what I'm gonna speak on was the fact of the matter of it was a certain point in time when you only had a certain less than a 1% of the population that so-called how you say claim to be a part of a certain community. All right, the alphabet community. All right, now, and it's like, oh, it's only like we'll give them 5%, right? So because you got 330 million people here, right? But let's just say 5%. It was less than 5% though. But you got to let's say 5% of the people was for that community and having they open stuff and everything else like that. But then you had this propaganda that was being pushed as if, you know, because they had control of the media and everything. They're like, no, the majority of the population feels like this. The majority of the population is ready for change. The majority of the population is for this and the majority of the population is for that. When really, it's like, well, you got, again, we're going to say 5% of the population that's with this certain community. That means 95% of the people ain't really with this shit. All right. But when you look on the news and the media, oh, we're in this new woke time where this community is so proud and everybody's just conforming to it. If you was watching the news from an outside perspective, not living here, you would think everybody was a part of the doggone community like that, man. All right. It says Rodriguez claimed a social media campaign had been run with the intent of destabilizing Cuba, hitting the country in the moment of weakness with help of the U.S. financed mercenaries. Same thing they have going on here as well, too, who could then burrow their way into existing pockets of unrest on the island to take down the communist nation. All right, in the same way they trying to, you know, the mother and the father producing heterosexual children and things like that, they ran the same play here. You know, they put their little mercenaries inside the schools, inside the court systems and everything like that to say, oh, well, you know, they're passing these laws now. The children want these things now and so on and so forth. So again, with that media propaganda and things like that, when you have these certain people in position, you would think that these are natural uprisings and things like that. But no, it's being provoked for a certain agenda. Meanwhile, the Cuban president, Miguel Diaz-Canel, dismissed the unrest as a result of a long-standing American embargo that has starved the island of much-needed resources for over half a century in defiance of human rights in defiance of human rights law. So like I said, they still stuck in the damn 50s because of the fact that they got these damn basically sanctions or embargo on them, so you can't really trade with this here nation, and if you do, you get sanctions put on your ass. So this is why, you know, oh, they starving out there, they ain't got no food out there, they ain't got good health and everything like that. And when it comes, like, if you can read on the screen this last paragraph, which we're not going to touch on, you know, they be like, well, despite, you know, this being a big global problem, you know, we ain't really worried about helping out humans if you ain't trying to so quote unquote help them out in that sense, like, now let them starve the fuck out. But then they came up with their own situation. Not saying that that's good or it's bad, but you know, you shouldn't be putting, especially the children of Israel, shouldn't be putting none of this stuff in them. But as you can see, just on layman's terms, how they just leave these people out there to dry like that, man. Same with Venezuela, but they come up with this here propaganda, all right, just to overthrow these here governments, all right, which is a tactic of Esau. I had a precept coming to mind. Lord will, it'll come back to me. Where was it at? Okay, I got you. This is Habakkuk 2 and let me start at verse 4. The proverb, not the proverb. The point is in verse 5. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by faith. Verse 5, this, you know, going into Esau. Verse 5, yea, also because he transgressed by wine, right? This philosophies and the things that he push out, man. All right, so he's using his media to put on the news and things like that, and also out there, like with social media, is like, oh, we're tired of the government posting up little flyers and things like that, and the people, they be like, oh yeah, we on to this, you know, just like they did here in America with the Black Lives Matter thing. You know, yeah, Jake was upset about getting gunned down by the police and everything, but they wasn't about to mobilize and make no group. It was a Hungarian Edomite named George Soros who came up with that and put together some propagandists together and everything like that to become the so-called face of this here group, and pushed out flyers and stuff on the social media and pushed it to these gullible people who just jumped on the bandwagon and followed suit. Yeah, Jake is standing up now. We got to go follow Jake out there, not realizing that this is all propaganda pushed forward by, you know, these Edomites, man. All right. It says, yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man and neither keepeth at home. All right. He's always meddling in somebody else's business. All right. Who enlarges his desire is hell, and his depth cannot be satisfied. All right, because he's always wanting more and more. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. All right, not for the sense of sharing and everybody ruling on an equal playing field with him. No, he gathers everybody unto him so he can reign over top of them all. All right, it's not a situation where, you know, he's trying to be on an equal playing field with you. You know, Jake be like, oh, we just want to be equal with the so-called white man. Like, not, well, the so-called white man don't want to be equal with you. All right, if you was a damn king, right, the king don't never want to be equal to his servants. That means the king would have to step down off his throne or raise everybody up to be a goddamn king, man. All right, and if you got everybody being a king, who are they ruling over? All right, and if everybody is a damn servant, who is leading them? All right, so you got to have somebody in one position and somebody in the other position, man. All right, so when Esau is heaping all these nations onto him, it's so that he can reign over top of them and extract the resources from them. All right, it says, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people. Verse 6, shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and how long, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. All right, because ultimately, you know, like I said, he's going in there for the resources. All right, verse 7, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booty unto them? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee, because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein. All right, because the blood is on your hand, man. You got these people going out there and having these uprisings, and the governments have to come in and put these people down, and all the soldiers that got to fight back and forth into these wars. It's all being propped up and propagated by the workings of Esau Edom, man. Esau is the one that's pushing out all these how you say, mind states and mindsets of the people, and programming them to believe these lies. All right. It says, woe to him that covet the evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high, that he may be delivered from the power of evil. Thou hast consulted shame to thy house by cutting off many people, and hast sinned against thy own soul. So, hey, man, you got a lot of blood on your hand for the things you wind up doing and trying to hoard all these resources just so you can be up on top, man. You're going to have to pay for all this blood that's on your hand, man. All right. Now, that precept is in Isaiah 14 and verse, I want to say 12. No. Verse 9, Isaiah 14 and 9, it says, hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. So instead of just going in and invading these nations and stealing the land, basically, and stealing the people and everything like that, they don't do it like that no more. What they do is they go in there and like what they doing in Cuba. You know, they'll have or Venezuela or Syria, where they attempted over there. But guess who came to back them? It was Russia. Lord will grab that as well too. But nevertheless, they'll go in and they'll destabilize the country by propagating different agendas to the people. All right, making them think a different way. Oh, there's the Juan Guaido situation in Venezuela. You know, oh, the people elected him. They told us that the people elected him and he won by a landslide, which he didn't win by a landslide. He didn't even win to begin with. All right, the people didn't even vote for him because they knew that was an American puppet. But this is what they wind up doing. They'll go in and how you say, propagandize the minds of the people, all right, that's there, to make them think that what they have is not really all that good anyway, all right? And then all of a sudden, just same thing that happened here, you know, with all these leaders like the Obama regime and things like that. They had the people believe in the fact of, you know, oh, the people really want this. The people want this type of change. But then you start to see the effects. The people ain't really happy with these effects, man. But this is what they do. They'll go inside these places, all right, and then they'll, like I said, propagate certain messages to the population there, and the people will start uprising, or a small portion of the people start uprising against the people, but they would have already set up their own group of people that look like those people that they could pay off, all right, to pose for photo ops and propaganda pieces on the news and say, oh, this is what's really going on out here. These people are upset, and then they'll go on to social media and things like that and set up fake protests and have a calling out and blast it out on social media and things like that. So now the people being brainwashed, oh shit, everybody running to the streets, they about done with the government. And you know how they say, monkey see, monkey do. When they're dumb people, they just quick to follow the masses, man. So they'll just go out there and do whatever the hell that they're gonna do anyway, right? But this is what they have, what you call, not raising the kings from the thrones, regime change. All right, overthrowing the leaders of these nations, man. All right. Let me go from there to all right, we'll close out with this because I kind of quoted this. Ezekiel 38. Well, let me just get to this here point. Ezekiel 38, 38 and 7, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be a guard unto them. And we bring this out with a lot of these other nations and things like that, but you have to understand that, you know, Cuba and Russia, they allies with one another. They've already been like that. That was the whole reason that Cuba has been cut off since as long as, you know, I've been living in before that. You know, they've been stuck in back in time because of the fact that they was buddy with Russia, you know, at the end of during the Cold War. That, you know, at that point in time, man. All right, but nevertheless, ultimately, like I said, man, you know, you had an article the other day that came out about this, talking about, you know, Russia was saying, hey, don't nobody need to be meddling in other people's business. Stay your ass out of their business and everything else like that, man. We not in their business, but we not going to let y'all roll up into their business and stuff like that, you know. And you don't want to, hey, man, but this is all bringing them into what? World War III, man. All right? This is all the Lord's will, and this is how it's all going to be played out, because ultimately, like the scripture say, Esau can't keep his ass at home, man. But ultimately, all these things, he's going to get caught in his own snare, in his own trap, and it's going to bring his ass to the king of terrors, man, to be slaughtered, man. All right? So I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this here lesson was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashim Rakak Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone that taught us his truth and ever will. And salutation and much love for you, Akim, pushing his truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.